We're back in the Morning Brew with friends. This is Natalie and Ian from TEDx, and I love this. You're the curator of the next big TEDx. It's an education salon, right?
Correct.
And then, Natalie, you are the director of the STEM Gateway at UNM.
Yes.
And what is that?
So it is a Department of Education grant that helps undergraduate students finish their beginning STEM classes so they can continue on and graduate with a STEM degree.
So like the college algebra classes and the
those
stuff
classes.
I struggled with.
Yes,
I love it.
catching up most students.
Is that stuff that, you always hear about people struggling when they get into college with a lot of the basic classes, the basic biologies and the basics?
There are a few confounding factors that go with that, but that's why we really try and help students sort of pass those beginning classes, because that's where it trips most STEM students up, to ensure that they have that good baseline knowledge, so when they go into their upper division classes, they'll be able to be successful.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And then you are the curator for the TEDx. This is an education salon.
Correct.
And TEDx has been around for a while, and it's this awesome thing. I think most people are familiar with TEDx, where you get up and give this awesome talk.
Right.
But when it comes to being a curator for this, how do you find the people that you want to talk, and how do you set up the, how do you decide where you want your salon to go? This is an education one, and there are plenty of it. There have been, but every 6-8 months there's another education salon, right?
Yeah, it's usually a yearly event in March, and this year we focus on the theme of equity in education, so that helps to decide who the speakers might be. Then we have an open application process and a selection process. And Natalie is one of our speakers, going to be talking about some STEM issues, and again, how we maybe encourage more people of color to be applying to the STEM fields.
Is there a lack of people of color in the STEM fields?
Extremely.
Yes. It's kind of a basic question.
Right.
We see I keep reading all about how Facebook and Google and Microsoft and all the great companies that are recruiting STEM people, they're having a really hard time recruiting people that are not basically white males.
Right.
And is that something that, I read this anecdotally, is that something that you guys see on the ground at UNM too?
Right, so we see it on the ground. There are the statistics, the research that sort of confirms what you're saying, where it's not just anecdotes, but we have an underrepresentation of people of color as well as women within the STEM fields.
Why is that?
Do
you have any good answers, or is it?
Well, there are a few
magic?
things. So there's the current system as far as preparing students for the college level courses, and then there's the sort of the atmosphere that's within the STEM field. Sometimes can be not as welcoming to people that are already in the field.
The sciences and the maths are they're very concrete people in some ways, right?
They have their soft side, but it's just sort of this prevailing culture that needs to begin to change.
So how do you? Is that what you're going to be speaking about then?
It is.
So how do you give us a couple of ways we can all help?
Okay. So one of the things we were just talking about is just going out and having STEM professionals talk to students, letting them know that we understand that the culture may not be as conducive as you would like for it to be, but we need you guys. We need students that have a different perspective, that different ideas, that have different backgrounds to really come in and start looking at these problems from a different point of view.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it makes sense to me, because how can you write software, how can you write an app for people if you don't know who they are?
Exactly.
So if you start recruiting people that are like the people you want to have in your business, it works, right?
It does, and not just for the people you want to have in your business, but when we talk about solving problems, we need people to look at it from different points of view if you really want to get at sort of the crux of the problem, and then what's the best solution. Sometimes the best ideas come from far left field, and you never would have known that that was the best solution, but we need people thinking about our problems and solutions to them from different points of view.
So I'm a huge fan of the way they coach speakers at TEDx. And this is, I think you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
So they put all the speakers through this really, what is it, a 6-week class?
A little bit longer.
A little bit longer than that.
Time.
And because there's a kind of a way of speaking that the TED's talks have kind of figured out over the years, right?
And one of our challenges is you take brilliant people with these really big ideas and you give them 6 minutes to try to speak to that topic. So there is a lot of refining and distilling.
Right. It's like 500 words.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not a lot of words.
But one of the great things we also see is the peer-to-peer coaching that takes place and the cohort that we build among those speakers. So often there's speakers giving each other really good feedback because they're going through that process too.
Right.
They know exactly where they're at.
And they all learn, and they probably have tips for each other, right?
Right.
So what's that like for you? I mean,
it's a wonderful process. I was talking to Ian about that. oftentimes we speak and we say our ideas, but we don't really know how people receive it. And so when you have the peer feedback, you get that sort of communication loop to be sort of closed, where you understand exactly how it's received from different points of view, and then you really realize, is this really what I meant to say? Because I really want my idea to come across, and when it come across exactly as how I meant it to be. So having people to sort of give you a feedback of how it felt, some better ways to possibly say what you mean, has been a great process working with guys.
So what did you learn? Like, how much of this did you, like, when you wrote your initial speech, how much of it did you just throw away after, say, week 3 or week 4?
I don't think I threw it away much. It's more so supplementing it with things that really sort of connect with people. Because sometimes when you start talking about STEM and math, people sort of...
You can glaze over a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Right.
So just to be able to bring that human side, where people can connect to it on sort of a one-to-one experiences everyone sort of had, really helps to communicate the message.
I think all of us have had an issue with, like, math problems or, you know, something, right?
Right, and it's really about, when it comes to particularly math education, it's a skill, just like many other things, and it takes time and practice to develop the skills. So a lot of times we sort of have this idea of, I'm not good at math, and it really is, have you practiced enough of math to be able to just to feel that.
I'm not good at playing the piano either, but that's because I haven't practiced.
Exactly.
It's the same kind of mental skills,
exactly,
right?
It is.
Right. So when you set out to do this specific TEDx Education Salon, how did you find your speakers? I know there's a bunch of speakers that are on the list for this one. How did you go out and find them? How did you discover these people, or did you already know people like Natalie?
So TED does a very good job kind of getting the word out. So again, when it was that open application process, whether it's connecting with different community partners or just using the TED social media network, we received quite a few applications. And I feel like our theme is really timely in terms of this idea of equity, right? Not equality, which is maybe sameness, but equity, which is fairness. There's efforts taking place at Albuquerque Public Schools, the Office of Equity and Engagement. UNM has the Division of Equity and Inclusion. So I think this idea and theme of equity is really starting to build some momentum in our community. So there were people eager to share their big ideas about this theme.
I love it. So when is the salon again?
It's March 25th.
Next week? Week after next?
Friday.
Oh, it is Friday. Already, this is already March 14th. Speaking of STEM, it's Pi Day.
Right.
Happy Pi Day. I know, I have to pick up a pie.
Do they make the STEM people take pies on Pi Day?
We actually are taking pies to our office today.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. We didn't do anything here. We should have had pies on the morning brew. We'll be back in a couple of seconds.